There are new developments in the search for Amelia Earhart's missing plane. Her disappearance has been a mystery for decades.
Is that if she did what she said she was doing, she should have made it to another island.
Another island, the most chilling mystery in aviation history, may finally have an answer, and the truth is as cold and heartbreaking as the day Amelia Earhart vanished. For 86 years she disappeared without a trace, leaving the world with questions that no one could answer. Search after search failed, and hope slowly faded. But now, startling new evidence has surfaced. It offers a shocking explanation for what really happened to Amelia Earhart. What was discovered, and what terrifying truth does it reveal? Join us as we uncover the haunting details behind her long unsolved mystery, the chilling disappearance of Amelia Earhart. For over 8 decades, the world had been haunted by one question: what really happened to Amelia Earhart? Now, evidence from the deep ocean has revealed shocking details about what might have happened to Amelia Earhart. A group of ocean explorers known as Deep Sea Vision believed they had made a shocking discovery, a shape resting deep beneath the Pacific that looked just like Amelia's long-lost plane. He says this sonar image of an object on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, about 100 miles from Earhart's intended destination, shares many of the same traits as her aircraft. Using their advanced underwater drone, they scanned over 5,200 square miles of ocean before capturing an image that sent chills through the team. According to reports, this mysterious object might be the Lockheed 10E Electra, the same plane Amelia flew when she vanished in 1937. On July 2 that year, she and her navigator Fred Noonan had taken off from Papua New Guinea, hoping to complete their round-the-world flight. But they never reached their next stop, and no one ever heard from them again. Tony Romeo, the leader of Deep Sea Vision and a former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, explained that he and his 16-person team had spent 90 days scanning an unexplored stretch of ocean west of where Amelia had been expected to land. They used a special drone that could dive for 48 hours at a time, collecting large amounts of sonar data. When they went through the recordings, Tony revealed that the team had come across a sonar image that left them speechless. The object on the ocean floor had a shape that looked like a plane, and not just any plane, but one with 2 tail fins, just like Amelia's. He believed they were finally close to solving the mystery. The team's search had followed a lesser-known theory called the dateline theory. It was developed by Liz Smith, a former NASA worker and hobby pilot, who suggested that Fred Noonan might have made a time error after crossing the international date line. If true, this mistake would have taken them 60 miles off course, too far from Howland Island, where they were meant to land. Tony believed Amelia had likely tried to land the plane carefully on the water. The sonar image seemed to match that idea, showing the wreck resting upright, not broken apart. This means that Amelia and her navigator Fred were stranded on a lonely reef, sitting in their broken plane, surrounded by rising water. Though the image wasn't yet solid proof, it was enough to spark interest. Dorothy Cochran, a curator from the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, said her team was intrigued by the evidence and agreed the site deserved another search. Deep Sea Vision planned to return later in the year to explore the spot more closely. They hoped that what they had found wasn't just another clue but the final piece of the puzzle. If they were right, the silence of the sea might soon give up one of the greatest secrets of the 20th century, the fate of Amelia Earhart. Another group, called TIRE, studied old radio signals from people and stations across the Pacific. They discovered 57 strange messages sent after Amelia's plane went missing. Many are believed to have come from Amelia and Fred. Some of the messages were haunting. A teenage girl in Florida claimed to hear a woman saying, "Water's high and water's knee-deep, let me out." A woman in Toronto picked up another message, "We have taken in water. We can't hold on much longer." Rick Gillespie, TIGHAR's director, said the messages tell a powerful story. At first, Amelia sounded calm but urgent. A few days later, her tone changed. The focus became water, rising water, too much water. She and Fred were running out of time. The official U.S. Navy report said Amelia and Fred died right after crashing, but the radio messages tell a different story. And there's more. In 1940, bones were found on the island, along with a woman's shoe and a man's shoe. Gillespie and his team are revealing their findings slowly, one step at a time. They believe that when all the pieces are in place, the truth will shock the world. Amelia and Fred didn't vanish without a trace. They were alive, stranded and calling for help. Now, decades later, their voices may finally be heard. Who is Amelia Earhart, and how did she find herself in this chilling situation that claimed their life? The spark that started the fire. From the beginning, Amelia stood out, not just in her family but in the world. She had no idea she would change someday. Even as a little girl, she had a wild curiosity, a bold heart, and a love for excitement. She wasn't interested in doing what girls were supposed to do. Instead, she chased adventure at every turn. Amelia was the older of two sisters. Her younger sister Grace, nicknamed Pidge, was quiet and gentle, while Amelia, known as May or Millie, was full of energy and ideas. She loved to lead, and Grace often followed. Their mother, Amy, believed in raising her daughters with freedom rather than forcing them to act like proper young ladies. However, not everyone approved of that lifestyle. Amelia's grandmother didn't approve of her bloomers, but Amelia didn't care. She liked wearing them because they made it easier to run, climb, and play. She didn't mind getting dirty if it meant having fun. From a young age, she showed signs of being an adrenaline junkie. She and Pidge would explore their neighborhood every day, catching bugs, climbing trees, and sledding down hills. Well, it was very interesting to me to fly in southern waters rather than in the north. They even hunted rats with a rifle and collected worms, moths, and toads. Amelia wasn't afraid of doing things that others might have thought were strange for a girl. She simply loved exploring the world around her. One of Amelia's most famous childhood moments happened when she was just 7 years old. After visiting St. Louis and seeing a roller coaster, she built one herself with help from her uncle. She made a ramp from wooden boards and attached it to the roof of a tool shed. Then she rode down it in a wooden box. She crashed hard, her lip was bruised, her dress torn, but that didn't ruin the excitement that coursed through her veins. Instead of acting hurt, she jumped up laughing and shouted, "It's just like flying." That moment showed her daring spirit and how much she loved the feeling of freedom and speed. Had already been At planted,
age 10,
and little Amelia did she saw know her first she would airplane eventually at a find fair herself in the but cockpit she of a wasn't machine impressed. that she initially was indifferent.
The plane looked
flying
like a
all
rusty
over the
old
world,
machine,
and she wasn't interested
sparked
in flying
Amelia's
yet.
passion?
And how did she
But the
find
seeds
herself
of
drawn to
adventure.
the skies, chasing a dream no woman had dared to attempt before? Seeking out an inborn passion, Amelia Earhart was homeschooled by her mother and a governess, and she absolutely loved learning. Her favorite place was the family's big library. Amelia would spend hours curled up with books, feeding her wild imagination and adventurous spirit. In 1909, Amelia joined public school for the first time at age 12. At first, things looked like they were improving. The Earharts moved into a new house and even hired 2 servants, but the happiness didn't last. Amelia's father, Edwin, was struggling with alcoholism. In 1914, he was forced to retire from his job at the railroad. Though he sought treatment, he was never rehired. Not long after, tragedy struck again. Amelia's beloved grandmother died. She had been a strong figure in Amelia's life, and when she passed, everything changed. Her estate was placed in a trust to keep Edwin from spending it, and the Grand Otis home, furniture, and all, were auctioned off. For Amelia, it felt like her childhood had ended overnight. In 1915, Edwin eventually found work in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Amelia enrolled at Central High School. But that job didn't last either, and once again, the family had to start over. This time, Amelia's mother took the girls to Chicago, where they stayed with friends. Even then, Amelia refused to give up on her dreams. She searched nearby schools for the best science program and turned down the closest school because its chemistry lab looked like a kitchen sink. She chose Hyde Park High School instead, but it wasn't a happy time. She was quiet, often alone, and described in the yearbook as the girl in brown who walks alone. Still, Amelia never lost her fire. She graduated in 1916 and kept her eyes on the future. Throughout her childhood, she had been cutting out newspaper stories about brave women doing bold things, women who worked in film, law, engineering, and business, mostly ruled by men. She kept these clippings in a scrapbook like a treasure map showing her the kind of fearless life she wanted. She later enrolled in junior college in Pennsylvania but didn't finish. Yet, that didn't matter. Amelia was never meant to take the usual path. Even when life was hard and uncertain, she kept moving forward with curiosity in her eyes and the sky in her heart. She wasn't just a girl who liked reading and science. She was a dreamer, a fighter, and a trailblazer in the making. Despite the lemons life threw her way, Amelia continued to make the best of it and always kept her chin up. What was the next phase in Amelia's life like? Discovering a new obsession. During the Christmas break of 1917, Amelia visited her sister Muriel in Toronto, Canada. The First World War was still raging, and wounded soldiers were being brought back from the front lines. Seeing these brave young men, broken by war, lit a fire in Amelia's heart. She knew she had to help, so she joined the Red Cross and trained to become a nurse's aide. Soon, she worked at Spadina Military Hospital, helping in the kitchen, preparing meals for patients on special diets, and handing out medicine. It was challenging work, but Amelia was proud to support those who had given so much. While working at the hospital, Amelia often listened to the stories of injured military pilots. Their tales of flying high above the clouds fascinated her. Something stirred deep inside her. Flying sounded like freedom, adventure, and purpose all rolled into one. That spark grew stronger in the years to come, but in 1918, just as she settled into her new role, the deadly Spanish flu pandemic swept through Toronto. Amelia caught the virus while caring for sick patients. She was admitted to the hospital with pneumonia and a painful sinus infection. Her recovery was slow and difficult. Doctors tried several painful treatments to clean out her infected sinuses, but nothing worked. The pain lingered and the infection affected her health for many years. Amelia spent nearly a year recovering at her sister's home in Northampton, Massachusetts. Even during this quiet period, her mind was never still. She passed the time reading poetry, learning to play the banjo, and even studying mechanics, anything to keep learning and growing. She was determined to come back stronger. By 1919, Amelia thought she might become a doctor. She even planned to attend Smith College but changed her mind and enrolled at Columbia University instead, diving into medical courses. But when her parents reunited in California, she decided to put her studies on hold. Despite the minor setback and health scare, Amelia did not stay down for too long. She had a specific adventure in mind. What was this adventure? Setting a world record. In the early 1920s, Amelia Earhart was already chasing excitement and new challenges. One day, she and a friend went to an airshow during the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. While many people were just there to enjoy the show, something bigger clicked for Amelia. She later revealed that the event sparked her deep interest in flying and made her start visiting every air circus she could find at the fair. A World War I pilot put on a thrilling air show. When he spotted Amelia and her friend standing alone in a field, he aimed his plane directly at them in a daring dive. Most people would have run, but not Amelia. She held her ground and watched, fascinated, as the red plane zoomed by just above her head. Later, she said it felt like the plane was speaking to her, calling her toward the sky. That moment stayed with her forever. Later that year, on December 28, 1920, Amelia and her father went to an aerial meet in Long Beach, California. She asked her dad to help her find out about passenger flights and flying lessons. The very next day, Amelia took a 10-minute flight with Frank Hawks, who would later become a famous air racer. It cost just $10, but the experience was priceless. As soon as the plane lifted off, Amelia knew in her heart that she had to fly. That short trip changed her life. In January 1921, Amelia began taking flying lessons with Nita Snook, one of the few female flight instructors at the time. It cost $500 for 12 hours of instruction, a lot of money back then, so Amelia worked several jobs to save up. She was a photographer, a truck driver, and even a stenographer. Looked too new, so she slept in it and rubbed it with engine oil to make it look used for lessons. Amelia's bold spirit paid off on October 22, and then walked for miles. When she flew the Canary to an altitude of 14,000 feet, she was determined, setting a world record for female pilots at the time. Used a plane she had rebuilt from on May 16, 1923. She officially became the 16th woman in the US to earn a pilot's license from the Federation Aeronautic International. 6 months later, despite Amelia Earhart wasn't just learning to fly, plane. She was also paving the way for women to rise higher than ever before. After her first solo landing, setting a world record was just the beginning. But when people, she was indeed destined for greater things. What else did she achieve? The sky was her stage. In 1928, Amelia Earhart took a huge step into the spotlight and into history. That year, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean in an airplane. Although she wasn't the pilot on this trip, the journey changed her life and made her a worldwide sensation. The trip was planned by a group of organizers, including publisher George Putnam, who later became Amelia's husband. Amelia was chosen to join pilot Wilma Stultz and co-pilot Louis Gordon as a passenger on the flight. On June 17, 1928, the trio took off from Trepassey Harbor in Newfoundland in a plane called Friendship. For nearly 21 hours, they flew through the cold skies over the Atlantic Ocean. Finally, after 20 hours and 40 minutes in the air, they landed safely near Buryport in South Wales. Even though Amelia didn't fly the plane herself, because she had no training in that particular aircraft, her name was the one that lit up newspapers around the world. Despite not being the pilot, Amelia's presence on the flight was a major milestone for women in aviation. The media loved her courage, her calm confidence, and her charm. She became a symbol of what women could do if given a chance. Reporters swarmed her, fans cheered for her, and the world started paying attention. 2 days after the flight, Amelia flew to Woolston in Southampton, England, where she was greeted like a celebrity. There, she switched to a different plane, a de Havilland Moth that belonged to another pioneering woman, Lady Mary Heath, the first woman to hold a commercial pilot's license in Britain. Amelia later bought the plane and shipped it back to the United States. When Amelia, Stultz, and Gordon returned to America on July 6, 1928, they were given a hero's welcome in New York City. They were honored with a ticker-tape parade along the famous Canyon of Heroes, where thousands of people showered them with confetti. After that, they visited the White House and met with President Calvin Coolidge. That one flight didn't just make Amelia famous, it also lit a fire in her heart. She wanted more than just a ride in the sky. She wanted to be the one behind the controls, flying higher, farther, and faster than anyone expected. This was only the beginning of her incredible journey. Amelia also worked to make flying more popular. She became an associate editor at Cosmopolitan magazine, where she frequently discussed aviation. She encouraged more people to fly, especially women, believing that flying could be part of everyday life, not just something for a few daring people. Her passion and willingness to attempt new things is commendable, and she would forever be remembered throughout history. Could these discoveries be the end of several decades-old mysteries? It is much easier to fly across the Atlantic Ocean now than it was just a few years ago. Why was the recording of their distress call not found soon enough, until it was too late? Share your thoughts down in comments and do subscribe.